Hey, good morning, everybody. I hope you had a really good Thanksgiving weekend last weekend with your family and friends. And it's that time of year where getting towards the end of the year and people start wondering what are home prices going to do next year and what are mortgage rates going to do next year. So I want to give you a quick overview for just a couple of minutes. Probably not what you're going to see on the news, but just want to kind of give you this overview of kind of what I think will impact prices in terms of supply and demand. I think those are going to be the big driving factors. And of course, mortgage rates are going to be a big factor. So let's take a look at that and see where things are going to go next year. I prepared a couple of slides for you to take a look at. I'll make it quick. First thing is the Atlanta home supply. Basically, you can see where inventory dips in the winter, kind of goes up during the summer months, and it's kind of a typical pattern. But obviously, when we hit the coronavirus, um, things didn't work exactly the same way, and we had this big dip. Now we've seen, of course, the home value supply of homes go back up a little bit, which is a positive. Now we're still nowhere close. If you turn to look at the numbers from 1,400,000 down to about 600,000 homes on the market, so we're still just way short on inventory, but it's a lot better than where we were. I guess I'll leave it like that. Now, I think inventory is going to kind of level off, maybe a drop a little bit again because these are the winter months. And then I think we're going to see spring. I think we're going to see a nice little curve back up where the inventory starts to kind of improve again as people start getting back, getting their homes on the market. So let's take a look at the next thing because I hear a lot of people say, well, foreclosures are going to be a big supply issue as well. We're going to have a lot of those come onto the market. But here's what I'm going to tell you. The foreclosure wave is not happening. That's actually really good news for you, and I'll tell you why. If we had a lot of foreclosures like we did earlier in the 7, 8, 9, 10, it puts a lot of pressure on home prices. And you saw when that happened, home prices dropped pretty dramatically, 20% during that period of time. So it's good that we're not going to have those foreclosures. Now, will we have some people who have to sell their homes? Of course we will. If the government is successful in combating inflation, they're going to really put a hard knock on the labor market. We're going to have pretty high inflate or recession numbers where unemployment's going to go up pretty noticeably. So as that happens, homes will come up for sale. But here's the thing: if you bought a house 3 years ago for 300,000, that house is worth at least $350,000 now. So if you did lose your job and you do have to sell your home, you're going to be able to sell it for full price, and you're not going to be a distressed sale. So that's going to really be a positive for our market and help the values stay where they are or even improve. So the other thing I want to look at is housing starts. This is, if you saw what happened in 2007, 8, 9, that was just incredible, where just almost the market just completely stopped building. So we've had some improvement, obviously, but we're still not even catching up. They're just not building enough homes. And of course, it dropped off again right when we had the pandemic in 2020, and then improved dramatically where we started building a good number of houses. But look what's happened in the last couple of months. So builders have decided they want to build 5 and 10 and 15 unit properties for rentals instead of single family homes. So been a big decrease in that. So when these are starts, that means these houses will be completed 6 months from now, which means we're going to be short inventory again 6 months from now because they just don't have enough houses that they've built. So we still have a lot of demand. Fed rate hikes are going to cut that demand because it's going to increase unemployment. But look, we've still got millennials at the peak buying years of 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026. Those are the peak buying years for the largest group of buyers that has ever come across this country. So that's huge. The reload wave is slowing. It's not stopped, but it's certainly slowing. When people were told that they could work from home and wouldn't have to come back to the office, a lot of people in the Northeast came to Georgia. A lot of those people went to North Georgia and Cherry Log and Big Canoe and other areas up there in the Blue Ridge Mountains. So we saw a big reload wave. I think that's going to slow a little bit. Affordability is also going to impact the market because, look, if you wanted to buy a house for 300,000 2 years ago, that house is 350 now. So with the higher price and higher rates, affordability is not quite as good. But here's a huge one, and I can't overstate this one. We have a huge pent-up demand. I know this because I put pre-qualification and pre-approval letters together for my clients who are buying homes, and I might put an offer together and I find out that there were 10 offers on that home. Well, one person got the home, 9 people are still out in the market. That happens so much. even all the way up until March or April of this year. And then when rates started shooting up, that kind of calmed back down a little bit. But there's still a lot of demand out there. And if interest rates come back down, we're going to see this segment of the market jump back in. And then the last thing I just put, the economy in general, this kind of comes back to the Fed rate hikes. They are absolutely going to do what they can to crush or slow inflation. But at the same time, when they do that, it's going to put a pretty hard hit on the unemployment numbers. Now, this is kind of an important one. I want to take a second and tell you, we've seen inflation peak at 9, 8, 7. Currently, we're around the 7.7%. But as you can see, look at the inflation numbers we had. These are the monthly inflation numbers. We had 1% inflation, 0.5% inflation, 1.1, 1.3 this year. But then look what happened. All of a sudden, inflation numbers really got back under control. And what happens is, if we have 0.2% inflation, let's take a look at January. So in January, we had 0.8. Well, if we have 0.2 inflation this year in January 2023, that means the inflation number would drop 0.6%. That would drop that to 7.1. It would, if we have it here again, it drops 0.6. That brings it to 6.5. It would drop 1.1. That would drop it to 5.5. And you can see with these high numbers, this inflation number really could come down. And I think it will come down in the first half of next year. And I think as we see that, we're going to see the rates start to come back down. And as those rates come back down, all that pent up demand, that's going to be hopping back in the market. All those millennials that have been sitting on the sideline, they're going to hop on the market. And we're going to see pricing on homes again go under pressure. So I think the first half we might see a little bit of a decline. And then the second half, I think we're going to see a little bit of a ramp back up where home prices go back up. So it's kind of a positive thing that I'm seeing for next year in that regard. So here's my forecast. Rates and home prices will probably trend lower in the first part of the year. And then home prices are going to find footing as rates kind of stabilize. I think we're going to see rates kind of go around 5.25, 5.5. We may, if we get really lucky, may even see rates drop back into the 4s. If we do, we're going to see more pricing pressure on home prices, and we might see more appreciation. Now, I've said this earlier, appreciation is going to be stronger in the major metropolitan area. We had good appreciation, but we didn't have the crazy appreciation like they had in Florida or in California or some other area. So as those areas, I think they're going to have more of a pullback, but I think we didn't go quite as crazy, so we're not going to pull back quite as much. And we're still a lot less expensive than some major metropolitan areas in the United States like Chicago and Washington, D.C. If you're in a good school district or if you just got a great location, that's going to bring you to the higher side of my forecast at maybe as much as 0.4% next year. And if you're further out and maybe a little more rural area, you might see your home prices even drop a little bit next year. Nothing crazy, but I think it's going to be overall a really good year for real estate. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, please feel free to call me anytime. I am always glad to answer any questions that I can for you. I'm always available 7 days a week. Have a great day. I hope you have a great holiday season, and we'll be back in touch. Take care.